right there, Latin 2. Here we are with the second half of your glossary, which will continue on throughout chapter 31. So the first word we run into is lepus leporis. We're on page 32. Lepus leporis. This means hare or rabbit. First off, it's standard meat. It's really easy to grow. I don't know why we still don't eat them. Even though I don't like them much, it's not like we couldn't do things to breed them to be tastier like we've done with chicken. But lepus leporis. A fun story, in Star Wars there's a race of people called the Lepi. The Lepi are these really tall, 6 foot tall, plus ears characters who are basically giant green space rabbits. What's funny about that to me is that somebody clearly didn't study their Latin, because they should have been called the Lepores, because this is a third, not a second. So lepus goes to lepi in the second, and I think that's where the writers were going when they did the comic book in the 1970s. But, points for trying. Now, we might remember our different classifications of mammals, and there are certain kinds of mammals that jump, and marsupials that jump, and they are called leporial creatures, bunny-like. Now, the next one is, I'm going to skip over for a second. I'm going to skip over aditus erit. I'm going to go to gratis. So gratis is an adverb, and it means for free, for nothing. It's where we get gratify, gratuity, and things like that. The next one is recte. Recte means properly or correctly. This is where you get the word rectory, direct. There's a few other words that aren't coming to mind, but the rector. There's other words. The next one, vero. Vero. Vero means indeed, truly, really, okay? So now you've gotten 2 words in the same chapter that deal with the word indeed, quidem and vero. Vero means, wow, really, like actually, indeed, right? Whereas quidem is, indeed, there were several troubles. And so this one's a little more forceful. And we remember this from ita vero, thus indeed, closest to you get to yes. Now, we've got a few verbs down there, and then I'll come back to the form that they gave us. So, pasco, pascora, pavi, pastum. This means to pasture, to feed, to graze. It's what you take sheep out to do. And this is where we get the word pastor, okay, or pasture. Not pasteurized, that's actually from Louis Pasteur, whose name itself it came from that. It was a religious name because he's French. But yes, that's where you get that. And if you think of what a pastor is, he's one who tends to his flock, etc., etc. The next one is ado, adora, adidi, aditum. And really, this is just do, dare with ad in front of it, right? So you're giving to something, you're adding to it. And that's where we got aditus erit. And next chapter, we will get into why that is the way it is. For right now, just take it as a gift that they translated it for you. It's literally where we get the word add, addition, stuff like that. The next word, acipio, acipora, acapi, aceptum. We've seen this a number of times. To receive, to get. I don't ever like you to say to accept because I don't like cognates. But I would point out that this is just capio capra with odd to it. So ad capio, or ad capio, acipio, acipio, it turns into that. It's where we get accept and things like that. Now, if you go to page 33, you will see in the middle of the page, triclinium triclinii. This is a dining room, and a triclinium is 3, so you got 1 at the top and then 1 down each side, 3 different couches for reclining on, because the Romans ate while reclining. So a triclinium is a triple couch room. Okay, so it's the dining room. Miti means to be sent, and there will be a lesson on that very shortly. Retinere and ami are also both to be, whatever that verb is. So this is what we call the passive infinitive. That exists. The very next one is reprehendo, reprehendera, reprehendi, reprehensum. We already have this, but it's to blame or to scold. And what's important here is to notice that it goes reprehendi to reprehensum. So we get the word reprehensible and things like that, but it keeps the D all the way until you get to the fourth principal part, then it drops it and turns into an S because D and S are hitting the same spot on your mouth. Turn the page And on page 35, at the bottom of page 35 is a very important word, conwiwa, conwiwai, and that is masculine. And that is a guest at a banquet. It's a guest, a convivial friend. And then next to that is magnopera. Magnopera means greatly. It's adverbial. Okay. And then if you turn the page to page 37, you'll see celeber, celebris, celebre. This is a three-termination adjective in the third. It means famous. It's where we get the word celebrity. There's also notus aum, which is very similar, but it means notable or noted, like something we all can write down and remember. And this comes from a Greek word, gnosko, which means to know things. So if you're agnostic, that means you don't know. The very next one is fidelissimus aum, most faithful, translated as such. This is where we get the name Fidel, but it's also fidelity and things like that. And then down at the bottom, you get bibo, bibera, bibi, which is interesting because it's clearly a verb that's transitive, because the Romans did it a lot to their wine, but yet we've never found a fourth principal part for it. It's probably because when you drink something so fully, it becomes drained, so you use housey. Then that should be it as far as the vocab goes for 31. So that's all the glossary. In the next video, I will read aloud to you, maybe for the last time. We'll see. And then, we'll get into the grammar. All right, I'm going to hit the button.